One of the most popular topics these days is self-love. And when it comes to the self-development space and the inner healing space, this is an important topic. How do we find and feel genuine self-love, especially if we have been through difficulty or experienced things that would say that we shouldn't love ourselves, or we've experienced rejection, or we've experienced someone withdrawing their love from us, or we've experienced heartbreak? How do we come back to that deep sense of self-love for the parts of ourselves that we felt and feel aren't lovable? This is a really important question, because while we might be reading posts on Instagram or social media that say just love yourself, it doesn't necessarily translate into reality when we look at how many parts of ourselves might not actually feel lovable. If we have a part of ourselves that feels actually disgusting, if we have a part of ourselves that was shamed or felt like the way that they are isn't lovable, that is the parts of ourselves that we have to look at, not just look at the good and valuable, or the parts of ourselves we deem as valuable. And those are the parts of us that deserve love. How do we create self-love for the parts of ourselves that don't feel that way, don't feel like they have received love from us in the past, and might not even trust that they would receive it if we're not actually showing it to them? And this is where parts work is such an important aspect of the work. Parts work and nervous system work, where we become aware of the emotional responses within our bodies and how they also usually connect with like an inner subpersonality, or a part of ourselves that is different from something else, like an inner child or an inner teenager, or a part of ourselves that we have kind of pushed aside into our unconscious mind. If you're familiar with shadow work, this is part of the work where we meet these kind of rejected parts of our psyches or our souls, bring them back into the light, and give them what they need in order for them to not be pushed away somewhere in the basement of our minds, where they can actually become a organic part of our wholeness. So they're not creating issues and trying to make themselves known through different disruptions of our experience. We'll often find that triggers and parts of us that, or kind of unconscious automatic patterns and responses, come from parts of ourselves that are repressed in our shadows or in our unconscious. And they can create a lot of damage. They can create addiction. They can create self-sabotage. They can create or sabotage our relationships. They can sabotage our business and our potential, because they haven't been given the space and the awareness and the love that they need in order to feel safe, in order for them to feel like they're okay, and they don't have to create a ruckus from our unconscious mind. And this again comes back to what self-love truly is. Self-love is the ability to be with all different parts of ourselves, all parts of ourselves that might have been hurt from the past, even the parts of ourselves that we don't like our inner critic and our perfectionist. It's the ability to be compassionate with these parts and to be with them. Because sometimes when we say love, I have to love this inner critic, there's another part of us that's like, hell no, I don't want to do that. I don't have a reason to love that other part of myself right now. That feels like too much. And through the process of inner understanding, we can then become friends with all different parts of ourselves and the parts of us. And when I say parts, I also mean like energy patterns within ourselves, or kind of like subpersonalities. And it's a way of understanding our inner psyches and our nervous systems that's really supportive in order for us to find awareness and create an understanding of ourselves that we might not have had before, and creates an inner harmony within. And this is the things when different parts of ourselves become friends, and a part that doesn't like the other part and is like, hell no, I'm not going to love that, they, instead of kind of pushing love, like I have to love all of myself, it's like, how can they just become friends? How can they become known of each other? How can they get to know each other? Is there a space for the part that feels judgmental and like another part of me isn't good enough or doesn't deserve love? That part can feel more seen and heard for why they're there and why they're judging the other part, so that they can just calm down a little bit and maybe just create a little bit more of an acceptance and more of a slow friendship of the different parts that it might not be liking. And this might sound a little bit like, what, if we haven't done this work of kind of understanding our inner world, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. I completely understand that. The thing to make it as simple as possible, it's just understanding that every part of ourselves, either if we're aware of them, whether we're aware of them or not, they deserve compassion, and they deserve understanding, and they deserve a sort of leadership, a leadership that we might not have experienced growing up from our parents or from our teachers. And they deserve to be integrated into our wholeness, into everything that we are. And what we usually experience and find then is that these parts of ourselves that might hold on to really hurtful emotions or beliefs, they start releasing the pain or releasing the hurt beliefs or the disempowering beliefs, and they start trusting our entire selves. They start seeing that they're part of an ecological ecosystem inside of us that has the ability to work in symbiosis with every other part when they become aware of each other. And if I'm talking fast, and if it's it can create some confusion, that's totally fine. We just notice that that's a part of ourselves as well that feels, if someone's speaking fast and it's not something that's really resonating, that's a part of our mind that is feeling that way, and that's completely fine. Offering compassion and understanding for that, offering compassion and understanding for any part of ourselves that feels annoyed or frustrated or irritated if we don't understand something, or just feels any type of emotion that shows up inside of us, any type of behavior. And what happens when we create this awareness and the space for all different parts of ourselves is that we can lead where we want to go. We can see that this is a behavior, this is a mechanism that's been there for a long period of time. I've been, eating chocolate every single day for the last however many weeks, and I can see that that's a part of myself that needs comfort, and that's the way that it's been finding comfort from. And I can then notice that, okay, I can have compassion for that part of myself. I understand that it's there. Does it need chocolate right now? Maybe it needs to call a friend instead. Maybe it needs something entirely different. It's when we become aware of those parts and we actually maybe even start a conversation with them and understand and hear and listen to what they have to say and ask what they need, is that we then start to have a relationship with every single part of ourselves. And this is how love becomes or unfolds within us naturally. It comes from deep within, rather it just being this enforcing thing from the outside that I have to love myself. Rather, it just becomes this natural, organic thing. These parts of these parts of ourselves feel seen, they feel heard, they feel recognized. And from that, they feel that they have a reason to give compassion or to give to be nicer in a sense, or to be just be more aware of that they're part of a greater ecosystem that they can support in the way that they want to, the more that we get to know them. So again, self-love is not this thing that comes from the outside that we just impose in ourselves. It comes through self-awareness and self-understanding and getting to know every aspect of ourselves, or as many as we want to and we feel is necessary for where we're at. And it's not about going digging for, all these different parts of myself, because trust me, we have a lot. It's about maybe just picking a path that we're going. If we're maybe going to increase our health, to go exercise more, or if we're following purpose, or we're creating a business, or we're putting our creations out into the world, or we're expressing ourselves on social media, whatever avenue and lane that we're on, we pick one. And as we are on that lane of purpose, the parts of ourselves that need attention, they will come up. They will come up as we go along. We don't need to be going digging for every single part of ourselves unless we're in a very kind of isolated or particular space in our healing journey where we really want to go deep and just really focus on our healing. If we just naturally kind of pick a lane and pick a purpose, the parts of ourselves that need attention and they need compassion and they need to get to be known, they will show themselves naturally on that path. So I hope this was helpful in a sense that every single part of you actually, in essence, has a good intention to being there. And this, I've talked about this before in my videos, is the understanding of, for example, internal family systems, which is a type of therapy, usually a trauma therapy, but also a coaching method that I use a lot with my clients, where we understand the different parts of ourselves have protective response and a protective reason for being there. But underneath that, they have a good intention. They have a good intention to keep us safe. And the more we understand that what the good intention is of our inner parts, the more they can relax, the more harmony we create within our systems, the more we kind of mobilize our unconscious parts and our unconscious sides to go towards where we deeply want to go in our life, where our soul wants to move. Those parts become aids. They don't have conflicting ideas of, I want to be doing this rather than doing that. They start feeling seen and heard. And then they're like, okay, Ingrid wants to go that path. And I feel seen and heard in this. So I'm going to help her on that road. But as long as I feel seen and heard and understood and loved, and I've been offered compassion, then I'm part of that and I will help aid her. And I hope that what resonates on some level. And I think that this is something I'll keep talking about, because parts work and understanding the multiplicity of our mind and our nervous system is foundational and so important when it comes to any type of self-development work, when it comes to also any health journeys that we're on, or when we're creating fitness, or we're healing our bodies, or we're becoming stronger, understanding how our entire system operates in order for us to move toward the directions that we want to move toward. They get to be a part of all of it, and they are important parts of the journey as well. I hope this was helpful, and stay tuned for the next video.